Hey troops, GeneralJSmith here, back with another comparison video of these 2014 Star Destroyer versus the 2013 ATTE. So I want to thank Kojo27 for suggesting this back, like 5 months ago or something. So I want to thank you. I am sorry it took some time to get around to your request. I just don't really know. It's taken some time for me to get around to any sort of request of comparison series, but that's by the by. Please leave your ideas for any more comparison series down in the description, and if I have the set, can I stress, I will do them, and of course I'll give you a shout out and all that. So please do that right now because you'll forget by the end of the video. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to be comparing these sets, which actually mean a fair amount to me, not just because they are personally some of my favourite sets, but also because if you look at my channel, these are a couple of the most viewed videos, or rather Let's Builds are, of my entire channel. In fact, I would say, they didn't really launch me, but they sure as hell, the top 3 videos are these two and my stop motion. And for a long time, this was my popular video until I made this video, which then became my most popular video until my stop motion came out. So yeah, this means a lot to me, and not to mention both these sets are like at least in my top 5. I'm not sure, I should really do a top 5 that I really love. But there's someone in there, I'm not sure which one's more, so this really is going to be a difficult one for me to call. Anyway, let's go on to statistics then. The Star Destroyer, set number 75055, ages 9 to 14, comes with 1,359 pieces, and retails for £120 or $130, and you can still buy it today, I'm pretty sure. Versus the ATTE from 2013, set number 75019, ages 9 to 14, comes with 795 pieces, and retails for £80 or $90. You might be able to pick this up, I'm not sure. It's probably going out of stock literally right now. If you want this, I very much recommend doing it as quickly as possible, because by 2016, trust me, it'll be gone, alright? It's raising in price, yeah. But anyway, so these are both pretty recent sets, both of which I reviewed when they actually came out, and as I said, they relaunched my channel. And however, saying that, there are a fair amount of differences, even though these only came out like a year differently. The minifigures, and I don't just mean like the actual minifigures themselves, I mean the quality of them, the quality of the builds, just a lot of things are fairly different. So I think this might be quite an interesting one to compare. Now, hopefully this will not be massively long. I feel like my last comparison series was like 20 minutes, which was a little long for these things, but I can't tell you. I'll be comparing everything about these sets, not necessarily just the vehicles in and of themselves. I'll be comparing the price for the piece. Really is a full thing. Which one should you buy? Which one is much more worth the money? Assuming, of course, you can still buy both of them for retail value. So, yeah. Anyway, though, not that being said, let's just go straight into the first part, looking at the minifigures. So I want to make it clear, this is not a review of these two sets. Both the reviews will be down in the description. This is literally just an overview of what we get. So moving straight on to the minifigures, a large part of every set. With the Star Destroyer, of course, because this is from two completely different eras, we get some of the iconic sort of troopers from the era. As with the ATTE, we get some somewhat iconic things of the prequels. At least in the ATTE, we do get this guy, who's a Jedi I haven't seen before. He dies so quickly, it's unbelievable. In fact, he's sort of a running joke, almost the point of Jar Jar Binks, between a lot of Star Wars fans, because he dies beyond quickly. It's not unbelievable. But as I say, you do get him anyway, even though he's terrible, and even though I doubt many people use him, he's still a cool figure, and I like to collect Jedi, so that's always a good plus. Mace Windu was fairly rare by this point. This was 2013. I think this was the last version we got of him. This was a Clone Wars version, although personally I prefer the one that came in Palpatine's Arrest. That one's basically exactly the same, except the leg printing. Well, in fact, actual fact, the leg printing was even more basic, but this one has white on it, so it kind of looks worse than even basic, so I prefer that one. But even so, if you don't have a Mace Windu, if you didn't get Palpatine's Arrest, then this is still a good way to get him. This trooper is completely unique to this set, which is probably why he's fairly expensive on bricklink and things, so that's pretty cool. And, just Clone Trooper Commander, he sort of went with the 2013 theme of your New York Clone Sergeant, Captain, all that stuff. So he's still pretty cool, though. And we get a couple of GeneralJSmith droids. We actually got a couple of these guys in the Corporate Tank droid from the same year. I think we did. They were somewhat the same colour. I think they're backpacks. I'm not sure why I didn't carry that into this set, but even so, one of which was Commander and had these little yellow markers. That's pretty cool. Unfortunately, though, we didn't get a lot of them. I think we're going to do this set and the Cobra Alliance tank droid, as I said before, so they weren't incredibly frequent. You didn't see them all the time. I kind of wish you did, because if you're going to build a GeneralJSmith mock or just anything from GeneralJSmith, you're most likely going to have a lot of these, because you'll see a whole ton of droids there. So it's kind of unfortunate they didn't come a lot of them. There's only like 4 ever, but oh well, I guess it's better than nothing. I just kind of wish we got them in more sets, but even so, there's the minifigures. Now, moving on to this one, this one I have 5, 2 of which are kind of droids, and things about droids, I mean, they are minifigures obviously, but it's like, they're so basic in one sense, even though these ones are unique. It's like, it's almost like you don't count them as full minifigures, so even though technically came with 5, 2 of them were battle droids, just point that out, obviously. This one, however, came with 6 completely unique, well, not apart from Darth Vader, actually, believe it or not, new, really cool variants, all of which could be used, in fact. So Darth Vader, he's fairly commonish. If you've got really the majority of original trilogy sets, you've been collecting LEGO Star Wars for some time, you probably have a Darth Vader, and this particular helmet or anything is no different whatsoever. We've got him a few times in a few other previous sets, and of course, recently in the Death Star Final Duel, he has had a remastered helmet, but back in 2014, this was pretty much the standard, so nothing massively special there, apart from the face, which was a different colour, basically. It was maybe more flesh type. I think it just looks more green, more like Drax, quite frankly. But even so, I guess it's kind of cool. There was also a sort of little Emperor hologram, which is a very big plus. It wasn't technically a minifigure, and it's on this set right now, but it's still a very big plus, very, very cool, and I will take into account. You've got a couple of these guys, I think they're called Admirals or something, I'm not sure. They were different colours, which I even liked. You know, I'm not sure if everyone liked the fact they were different colours, because they're both into Admirals. I like that, to show they're more individual. The faces were different, they had different hairstyles. I loved all of this, you know, I love that sort of thing, to show that they're not clones anymore, because I'll go into this another point, but Stormtroopers are not clones. I hope everyone knows this. This guy, who, I'm not sure what he is, he's not an Admiral, some pilot? I don't know. But even so, he is different. I don't think he's unique. He might be. We have seen stuff like him before, although not that often. He is pretty rare. I do have a few of him, but not that many, so he's still a very good addition, of course. You know, it's still good to have a fair amount of him, because, yeah. And, of course, these Stormtroopers, which I believe were completely new. And actually, believe it or not, I don't think you've seen again. We might have seen them in one set in 2015. But they brought in the Rebels ones directly after these 2012 ones. So, why do I keep saying 2012? I don't know. But anyway, so that's kind of weird. But even so, they are really, really cool. In my opinion, the best Stormtroopers today. I kind of wish they'd brought those on instead of the Rebels ones. Although I do understand the Rebels, and the Rebels ones aren't terrible, I guess. But whatever, even so. The minifigures then are very cool, all of which are pretty useful. Now, I'm not going to lie, I'm somewhat biased because I'm a massive Clone Wars fan. Although, in all honesty, I think I'm probably going to have to side with the original trilogy, and I'm going to go with Star Destroyer when it comes to the minifigures, just because you probably got Palpatine's Rest, because I think Palpatine's Rest was a brilliant set. So if you got that, you won't really cut Mace Windu, because that one is even better. I mean, this guy's unique, that's pretty cool, although he's not really useful in that many situations. This guy, I think, is the biggest draw for this set, if you already have Mace Windu and stuff like that. Because he's unique, he's completely unique, you know, you can use him, he's a clone, it's really cool. And the GeneralJSmith droids, they are really cool. I guess it's better you get some. I don't know, I guess if they're only bringing out 2 sets, I kind of wish we had even more of these guys. So it's almost like this set didn't even come with that many, because, nah. But, even so, I'm probably going to just have to go with the Star Destroyer when it comes to minifigures. Moving swiftly on, we're going to go on to the instruction manuals. Alright, so the instruction manuals for these sets, sorry if that sort of rocked the table, but even so. They are actually somewhat different, or at least the Star Destroyer one was, because generally speaking with the larger sets, you'll get an average of 2, and that's the exact same with the ATTE. The ATTE instructions are really nothing special in any conceivable way. They're actually fairly thin. It almost feels like they didn't really need to, but I do completely understand. It was one of the largest sets of this year. You can see the rest of the set. I think it was the 2nd or 3rd largest behind the gunship, and maybe that. I think that was bigger. I'm not sure. But, yeah, so nothing majorly special, though. I mean, again, it's pretty thin. All the stuff, the art was in the back of the second one. You've got inventory, 2 pages of inventory. So that seems quite a lot, but, you know. You've got the features. I'll go over more of that, of course, when I compare the sets. But, yeah, really, that's more or less it. There is nothing massively special, in all honesty. It's a pretty standard instruction manual. There is really nothing special in any way. Moving on, though, there is actually somewhat unique about this instructions manual, is that each one is reasonably thick. I'd say each one individually is larger than one of these, really. Or maybe same. I think actually maybe even a little larger. I'm not sure. But, so if I say, there are 3 of them, as you can probably notice. This is pretty much unheard of for any set that is standard size. I think we got this a few times in like a couple UCS sets ever. But for a standard size set, this is very uncommon. Very uncommon indeed. I'm not sure why they really did this. It might just be because it was too big to have 2 instruction manuals, but too small to have a full binder thing. I don't know. Very odd. Even so, though, you do get stuff at the back of most of them. At the back of the first one, you get this really cool art of all the minifigures of 2014. Very, very nice. As well as art of all the sets that came out that year. By the way, you can see reviews of that, and that, and that on my channel. But yeah, so, you know, well, that's all pretty cool stuff. Moving on to the second instruction manual. Nothing massively special, just literally continues on straight away, of course. They're all pretty average size, they're all pretty much the same size, no particular instruction manual that's thinner or thicker. But we've got this really cool art, and of course, this is a big draw I haven't mentioned yet. But we've got this really cool art. This is art that came with the actual Star Destroyer. You actually get a poster, which is incredibly cool. That is very, very nice. And of course, this is the one that came in 8080. And yeah, very nice. And in the back of the third one, which I'd say probably the thickest by a little bit, we have got a UCS set, which I think actually came out a couple years earlier. I'm not sure, but I don't think it came in 2014. And the UCS R2D2 from 2012, which I want to get one day. So, very nice. So, a lot of very nice art here, quite frankly. I would say, normally speaking, I just play instruction manuals for the sake of it, because it's like, oh, well, instruction manuals are just instruction manuals, there's not much to say. But in all honesty, believe it or not, I'm actually going to give a full conclusion, which I think most people agree with. The instruction manual for the Star Destroyer is just so much better, quite frankly. It's just, what? I mean, even though, yeah, instruction manual is just instruction manual, it's like, oh, well, how good can it really be? It's just, I think you saw the instruction manual for this one. It's just so much cooler, so much better. The art, I love the art of the back of the instruction manual. I love looking at it, which is really cool. And in fact, you got posters. I'm not sure if you got a poster for this one. I should probably check that. It might have just been the gunship you got a poster with, and the Jabba's barge, but you got a poster with this one. So, I mean, come on, really. So, yeah, definitely the Star Destroyer wins in instructions. And now let's just move to the Beast de Resistance and say which one wins out of the vehicles themselves. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, I have checked, and a poster did come with this one, a very cool one. It did not come with this one. In this 2013, it only came with Jabba's sail barge and the gunship, so I'm not gonna lie, that is still a draw for this one. So far, the Star Destroyer has won every round. But, of course, I think the main part of every set is, well, you guessed it, the set itself. So, which one will win? Well, with the 80TE, this was only the third variant. We've got one in 2002 or 2003, something like that. And we've got the Clone Wars version in 2008, and then this version. Now, even though a lot of people have the 2008 one, I never, unfortunately, got it. I really, really wanted it. But in all honesty, now it's kind of controversial whether this one is better or worse. I personally think it is the better of all 3. I think it's better than the 2008 one for a fair amount of reasons. Now, the 2008 one was somewhat longer and somewhat thinner, which did go more with the Clone Wars, whereas this one, of course, was based off more specific episode 2, the beginning of the Clone Wars, or the actual film. So it's a little different in some ways. Now, some people have customized it to make it a little more colourful and, I don't know, put tiles over or stuff like that, but that's all by the by. Some features are different. For example, the cockpit on this one slides out as opposed to like folds down, which it did with the Turn 8 one. But some things are still the same, of course. You know, the turrets, well, obviously the turret, very simple. The thing at the back lifts up. I believe there might be a little more space, or maybe a little less, I'm not sure. But there's not a massive amount of space either way. With this one, all the Turn 8 one, so that's kind of a thing. The legs, I believe on the last one they were adjustable. I'm not sure on that, don't quote me. They might have been, they might not, or they might just be the first variant. I think on one of them they were adjustable in some way, they'll like keep in place. But hopefully that's the thing that will stick one day, they'll just do that. But yeah, more or less, there's really not a massive amount to this set in terms of what you wouldn't expect. Of course, you've got the ball turrets, things move, you know, stuff like that. It's just a vehicle in Star Wars that has a lot of posability. There isn't really a lot that LEGO has specifically taken on board. Of course, it does have a handle. This is the first 80TE to ever have a handle, which is very, very nice. Unfortunately, though, you cannot connect it to the Republic dropship, which came in Turn 8, I think, or Turn 9, as you could the last one. You could do that with the Turn 8 variant, although you can modify this, because of course this was not designed for that. You can't expect every single ATTE from now on to be designed to fit with it. But you can mod it, and I don't think that's hard of a mod, so it's not that bad. But yeah, this kind of one is more almost bulky. It's like it's kind of squished it down. It feels somewhat a little more powerful in one sense. I don't know, something about it. It's just, yeah, I think it fits much more like Episode 2 and, if you will, the modern LEGO Star Wars, as opposed to in Turn 8 when the Clone Wars was just getting started. It was a lot more streamlined. There was a lot more sort of new generation of stuff. So yeah, moving on to the Star Destroyer. This is the second variant of like a normal size Star Destroyer, but my god, the amount of Star Destroyer variants we have had in the years begs belief. We've had God knows how many polybags, a UCS one, I mean, of course, had a Super Star Destroyer one, I mean, a mid-scale one, I mean, it's unbelievable how many we've had. But I'm going to compare this to the Turn 6 one, which in my opinion, as I said in the review, is a very sensible set for me. I won't go into that now because I talked about it enough. And a lot of people obviously ask me, how does it compare? That's difficult. Partially because I haven't built the last one in years, and I have seen videos about it and how they compare. Apparently the Turn 6 one was considerably larger, which is kind of surprising. Although this one does have considerably more detail, I would say this particular area looks a lot better on this one. I would say that. The detail and the detail with inside it looks a lot better, as you would expect from, what, 8 years? No, sorry. Yeah, no, it is 8 years, my bad. So yeah, so really, this trumps the Turn 6 one in detail. The Turn 6 one, though, is considerably larger and just generally, I think, more a collector's set in one sense. This is more, if you were, a standard set. It's more when you pass off, as where the Turn 6 one was a lot more iconic in terms of LEGO, and a lot of people had it, a lot more people wanted it, and stuff like that. Now, as I said, the interior can open up somewhat differently to Turn 6 one. You sort of take this off. I'm not going to do it right now, but you take it off and fold it out. Just having a little space. You can't really do it just wherever. But that was also the same with Turn 6 one. It's just a long set, so you can't really do that. The interior of it, I personally think, is very cool, especially the sort of command station in this sort of front section. Very accurate, very similar to the Super Star Destroyer. So I really love that. Just, yeah. The back stuff back there is also, I mean, there's not a massive amount there, considering it's a large open space, but even still, it's still very nice. This is the first one to come with a handle, which is also very nice, because with the larger sets, especially ones of like this sort of dimensions, where it's somewhat hard to pick it up maybe, or I don't know, you're somewhat worried if you grab the front, the rest will, you know, it's somewhat heavy in some areas, so you really got to want something to be able to hold the entire thing with one hand, as opposed to like being able to do it two hands. We had to do the Turn 6 one. So a handle for this set is very, very nice. As I said, the detail very nice. A difference perhaps with a lot of other Star Destroyers and a lot of other just vehicles of this type is the fact that these weapons move in sync because there's a handle at the back, and that was the thing that I feel LEGO did, because that's the thing really, when I look for features and sets, I don't just look for the standard like, oh yeah, there's a ball turrets and stuff like that, because that's kind of standard. It's just like, oh, well, that's what it's meant to have, because, you know, that's what this vehicle in Star Wars has. I look kind of for what LEGO's added in one sense, because LEGO in this one has added it so you can move them all at the same time. Now, this is arguably good or bad. It somewhat depends on your point of view. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's kind of neutral feelings on how, you know, good it is to move them all in sync. You can't, by the way, move them individually. Like, you have to move them all in unison. So, it's debatable. So we'll just sort of leave that. But overall, I think it looks like an amazing set. You actually see, by the way, they're pretty much the same height, just saying. Of course, Star Destroyer is considerably longer. But, yeah. So, as a vehicle, which one is better? Taking into account the price and the pieces, this one, I'd probably say is much more worth it in terms of pieces to price. Because it's got like, what, 1,300 and something pieces, and it's about £120 and something like that. This one, it's still worth it, don't get me wrong, they're both worth it, but this was it's a little more worth it, if you know what I'm saying. It's better price per piece. But sets, LEGO, I feel, has done more with this, I suppose. But this really has a lot of factors, and you almost don't need to do much with this, because it's just such good a set, and just an easy set to use in a lot of ways. For, of course, mocks. If you're a Clone Wars fan, then mocks, this is the set you need. Come on, you know, this like EAT and stuff like that, it's just, come on, you need more than a gunship, because it's a ground vehicle. And just stop motions, and this is beyond useful. I've got a couple of these, if you've got a couple of these, it's just so useful in like so many ways. It's the standard Republic vehicle, So yeah, this of course, I mean, the iconicness is so amazing. If you're going to walk the room and see, oh, which one's Star Wars, you pick that one, of course, because this one prequel in the Clone Wars, so not many people will think, you know, it's not as iconic, just quite frankly. It is more for Star Wars, like Clone Wars fans, but just in Star Wars in general, this is way more iconic. I think this is much more one the parents will buy for the kids and just say, oh yeah, we did this on my age. Whereas this one is much more about the child or teenager who properly knows into Lego, who's probably going to buy this set. So that is very difficult then for me. For a long time I said this is arguably my second or first favourite set. I'm not sure. This was definitely my top 5. Very difficult. Bear in mind everything. I mean, so far Star Destroyer won in every way. But it's still difficult. I'm gonna have to go just very, very slightly. Just pick the post. I'm gonna have to go with the Star Destroyer. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to go with Star Destroyer. They're both incredible sets, and I highly recommend going all of them. And you know, I have 2 of these, and I've got 1 of these. I don't plan to get another one of these. So what does that say? But, I mean, this is so much more useful in mocks and stop motions, because I think the Clone Wars is much more broader. Of course, when Rebels comes more to force and we get more films, we may see more areas of this, so you may be able to use this more. But, I don't know. I mean, this feels much more like a Christmas and present, like, birthday gift, as opposed to this, which kind of feels more like for the teenager who knows what they're getting in one sense. Like, it's more of an official purchase than this, where it's just like it seems more of a present. I hope you understand what I'm saying. But yeah, that is more or less it then to this comparison. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave down your opinions down in the comments. Do you think the Star Destroyer went on, or do you really, really love the ATTE? I by no means would judge you either way, because both these sets are incredibly cool, and I would very much recommend getting both of them. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in another video. Remember to comment down below with any more suggestions, and please, for the love of God, make sets I've got, because I can't tell you how many suggestions I've got for the Death Star versus the Death Star 2. I don't have the Death Star 2. Are you kidding me? I would love to have it, but I don't, alright? But, you know, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time with another new video. Bye, troops. Back with another LEGO Star Wars comparison series thing, whatever, I don't know what it is. This episode was suggested by, oh god, I forgot to ask, damn it. The Star Destroyer and the ATT, as I said, are some of my favourite sets. In fact, funny enough, these were actually